Significant words that I've ever preached, and it's from a very insignificant passage of scripture. It comes from the 13th chapter of the book of Joshua. I'm only going to I'll be concerned with verse 1 for brevity's sake, even though you would probably go down 14 or 15 verses just to get the entire thought. But I'm just going to use Joshua 13, verse 1. It says in the King James Version, "Now Joshua was old and stricken in years, and the Lord said unto him," God talking, "Thou art old." You know you're old when God said, "Thou art old, and stricken in years, and there remaineth yet much land to be possessed." NIV said, "When Joshua had grown old, the Lord said to him, You are now very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over." The New Living has it like this: "When Joshua was an old man, the Lord said to him, You are growing old, and much land remains to be conquered." In this text, God gives the following verses. You all can study it later. God gave Joshua further instructions on the lands that the people of God needed to possess and how it needed to be distributed out. This group gets that group gets that. You got to remember, this is the same God that told him in Joshua 1 verse 3 that every place that the soles of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto thee. God still had big plans for Joshua, even though Joshua was old and stricken in years. God wasn't releasing Joshua from his kingdom assignment, even though he was very old. This text is a dive into the mind and the heart of God. Saints, I believe that God has the ability to look past the number of candles on each one of our personal birthday cakes, Janisha, when it comes to fulfilling our kingdom purposes. God didn't release Joshua the smaller things despite his old age. Could the Lord be speaking to each one of us as we look at the time clock of life and truly see that there's more behind us than there is in front of us? Saints, there still is much land to be possessed. Our old enemy, the devil, is still on his mission to steal, to kill, and to destroy on a daily basis. The enemy knows that his time is short, so he's always on his mission. While he does that at a certain age, we start to rest. We desire kingdom rest. So for a few minutes on this Sunday, I'd like to share from the subject, you're not too old. Tell someone in the room that's had more than the birthdays of Brother Bell's grandkids. Look at them across, and Leslie. Look across the room and tell them, you're not too old. You're not too old. And now everybody look at Brother Young up front and tell him that you're not too old. Now let me tell myself, you're not too old. Nowhere in this text does God tell Joshua that he's not old anymore. Nor does God tell Joshua that he was going to turn the clock back on his behalf. You got to think God's powerful enough that he said you're old, and if you're 65 or 69 or 74 or 84, God can in one instant can turn you back to 16. But God doesn't does that. Saints, I finally sent the money for my AARP card a couple weeks ago. Deborah didn't want to recognize her ability to get a card, even though she might qualify. But with my membership, there's a free membership that comes with it, so I got her either way. God didn't look at the number of teeth that Joshua had left, nor did God assess how fast that Joshua could still walk. God looked at Joshua and told him, thou art old and stricken in years. But God didn't allow Joshua to take a pass because of his age. God said, there remaineth yet much land to be possessed. So saints, despite Joshua's time on the earth and his tough battle with the calendar of life, God still saw conquest. My brothers and sisters in Christ, God still sees conquest when he looks at you, despite all of our ailments and our talks of retirement. Joshua in our natural eyes was fit for retirement, but God made the call for Joshua to refire and not to retire. My kingdom brothers and my kingdom sisters, I believe that Joshua is an anomaly. I do believe that God is still calling each of us to kingdom exploits, no matter what our age may be. You're not too old. Maybe you can't get around like you used to. Maybe you can't hear like you used to. Maybe you can't think like you used to. And maybe you can't remember like you used to. But God still desires for us to be in the game of life. I hear God saying, age is nothing but a number when I decide to still use you. God in this text didn't spew any retirement talk to Joshua. God still saw conquest. God still sees the same for each one of our lives. Listen to these health statistics. According to the National Council of Aging, about 92% of seniors have at least one chronic disease, and 77% have at least two. Heart disease, stroke, cancer, and diabetes are among the most common and costly chronic health conditions, causing 2/3 of the deaths each year. So nearly 70% of all deaths are from cancer, stroke, diabetes, and heart disease. Many of these already run in each one of our family trees. I talked to a guy from Carver the other day. He said, man, you didn't mess with them Boatwrights, man. You didn't know how many of them it was. I asked him about Sylvester. He said, that's one of them younger Boatwrights. I don't know him, but it was just all a house full of them. So they don't even know how to count y'all. And I thought the Bell family was big until I found out that they connected to them Hardaways. I met Leslie's real granddad, that if I had an hour to talk with him, he was going to know my people, your people, and everybody else. So we're dealing with things in our family trees. They told me one statistic, my mom had her first heart attack in her 50s. And when your parent has a heart attack in their 50s, it makes your triggers so much higher. So much runs in our family trees, if we would totally be honest. As a matter of fact, let me take time from my kingdom message to pray over each one of our bodies, even now. God bless every body of everyone in the room. Heal anything that's not like your best intentions for our health. Take away what needs to be taken away, add what needs to be added, bring up what needs to be brought up, bring down what needs to be brought down, regulate what needs to be regulated, kill every generational curse associated with our bodies. Heart disease be gone, hypertension be gone, cancer be gone, diabetes be gone, Crohn's disease be gone, arthritis be gone, illness be gone, disease be gone, in Jesus' name, amen. Sorry I had to take that Kingdom Station break, but I felt that it was needed at this point of the message. I hear the word of the Lord saying to each one of us, you're not too old. My sister wanted to bowl for her birthday. She decided to bowl last Sunday night at the main event in Cordova. So we brought her birthday gifts there. We didn't really want to bowl. But while I was preparing to walk into the main event, the female security guard in front of the business asked to see my driver's license to prove that I was 21 years old or older. Now, folks, when you got more than 35 years on top of those 21 years that you live, it's flattering for someone to ask you to prove your age. Sometimes of being caught, it is a compliment. Maybe because I don't have a lot of hair is why the guard didn't see the gray hair that's living up there. Saints, as much as any one of us hates to grow older, there's only one other alternative, and it's not quite as pretty. When given the choice to celebrate another birthday or go to a cemetery, I'm going to take that birthday every time. I have fewer teeth than what I originally started this journey with. I have less hair than what I started this journey with. I can't run as fast as I used to. There are times that I can't remember someone's name until they walk away. Wow, that's really something. Because people, especially people that spend money with you, they want to feel like you still remember you, especially when they remember your name. And you, Deborah and I had this little game that if I couldn't remember it, and Deborah comes in and she said, and your name is, since she doesn't know him, I'm supposed to know him, and that's the way that the name gets out there and then it comes back. So we play that little A and B, good cop, bad cop thing. But sometimes you solo. And you don't even remember the person that remembered you. And then the second they walk away, that name comes straight across your head. All of these are veins of getting older. But I would choose any one of these over a cemetery. I now truly feel the words of Celie after the mister told her that Suge got spunk. Suge know how to talk to people. You're black, you're ugly, you're a woman. And then Celie just dug real back and she said, but thank God I'm here. The present that each of us should long to see daily is the opening of both of our eyes. So this isn't a turn the clock back message, but this is a word that there's still a call on your life despite your age. Have we forgotten the powerful truths that are espoused in Psalm 37 verse 25? The psalmist extolled, I have been young and now I'm old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. So in the preceding verse, the psalmist didn't see the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread, even when he became old. The promises of God on your life will still come to pass. I heard a guy getting prophesied to the other day. And this prophet was sincere. He wasn't asking for no offering, but he spoke into this guy's life in some kind of way, and the tears balled up in his eyes. And he was so sincere. And I personally know I have a prophetic call on my life, but y'all had me put my prophetic call back up on the shelf, because every 2 words that y'all prophets want to give to somebody, you want $1 tied to it, but none of y'all saw COVID coming. So that makes me want to just question some of y'all prophets out there, because you want the $1, but you don't see what else is coming. But this guy spoke in this guy's life so good, and the guy started crying, you know, and then he got to me and said something that brought a tear to my eyes. He told me that I should have already been a millionaire.
That's right.
That was a gut punch. His words hit me head on, and I could lament about the time that I wasted, or I could acknowledge that God still has some conquest ahead of me. Many of us have wasted kingdom time and squandered kingdom opportunities, but there are still lands to conquer. Bishop G.E. Patterson once said that he thought that he would have had a church like Temple of Deliverance at its peak in his earlier years, the church that he had in his latter years when he was much younger. But he admitted that if God would have given that to him when he was younger, that he would have messed it up. Saints, we can all look back over our lives and see mistakes, missed opportunities, and blunders in our past. So God sent me here on this morning to tell each one of you that your background doesn't have to prevent your uplift. God's telling each one of us, despite our age, that greater can still be ours. Now I'm talking to you all, Leslie, and the 3 little young ladies. Ecclesiastes 12 verse 1 states, remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Saints, all of us didn't remember the Lord in the days of our youth. Some of us have allowed a good amount of birthdays to pass before we remembered the Lord. The years have drawn nigh on us. the evil days of pain are with some of us. Saints, despite all of our aches and pains, we still have a kingdom call. If we would have been great to have run after God when we had all 32 of our teeth, but even with the few that some of us have left, next to that away. Y'all didn't get that one, did you? Next to that away. You smile and then you say, do I keep this smile like this or do I kind of change it? Well, God is still speaking conquest over our lives. Love stories don't just come to 19-year-olds. Every time you think that it's all over, that this old maid and one of them old mamas will fool you and go right up there and she'll have her dress on white. And she's 60 years old. She done snagged her man. This lady told me at graveside, I thought she was just as crazy as she was. She wouldn't buy the grave next to her husband. And I said, Miss Jones, you're not buying the grave next to your husband? She said, Steve, I like getting married again. And I said, Miss Jones, you 74 and you crazy. I don't know, you ain't getting married. Ain't nobody out there for you. Young women have the hard time. I'll be... Miss Jones married. Miss Jones had a plan. Y'all counting out all these old women and you don't know what they got going on. Harlan Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, became a millionaire after 60 years old. Ray Kroc founded McDonald's as we know it. Actually, another family owned McDonald's and he just took it from him at 52 years old. Say just because you didn't win conquests in the sprint doesn't mean that any one of us can be successful in the distance run called life. Maybe we count ourselves out too many times because of our ages. The word of the Lord is that you're not too old. My stepmother, Catherine Smith, had a career as a phlebotomist, but she desired more. So she went to nursing school in her late 50s. She sat with people that were much younger than her own children in class every day. I'm sure that someone told her at the beginning of her studies, do you know how old you're going to be when you finish? But guess what, saints? You're going to be that old anyway, so you might as well do it. I see someone asking each one of us, do you know how old you're going to be in 3 years? Well, if you're 56 or you're 60, you're going to be 63 anyway. So be 63 with the goal that you desire. Saints, the time is going to pass anyway, so let's be better in our older years. My stepmother becomes a nurse while courting 60 years old. I say that a shorter run is better than a no run at all. She did it when she was older. The amount of birthday candles on that she was entertaining didn't stop her move to destiny. God is saying the same to each one of us. God's still calling each of us to destiny. There are still conquests to be had, battles to be won, purposes to explore, and fulfillment to still be obtained. And all that I'm saying in the street, what I would say is it ain't over yet. You're not too old. Don't turn in your kingdom time card yet. Saints, God's not calling us to cease and desist as far as our kingdom efforts are concerned. God still has much for every one of us to do. You're not too old. Saints, instead of what the Lord has saying what the Lord hasn't done in our lives, maybe we should say what the Lord hasn't done yet. God still got a work for you to do. Don't close the book on yourself yet. Greatness didn't come to you in the sprint, but God's also ready to bless some of us who are distance runners. Is there anyone in the house that's ready to run the distance? They may have got it before you, but God still has some winds that he's pointing in your direction. God's plan is bigger than you think. That plan doesn't shrink just because you're older. God doesn't want you to rest on your laurels on the powerful things that you did 20 years back. You don't have to live through your daughter. You don't have to live through your child. You don't have to live through your memory banks. But God still has some conquest for you to see. God God is the ultimate knower. So if God can see Joshua in his old age and still see conquest, what is he thinking about you and me? Conquests are still in your future. Even if AARP has your name on file, your age doesn't give you a pass in God's eyes. Let me call Daniel to the witness stand. Daniel 11 verse 32 states, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people who do know their God, they shall be strong and do exploits. There's no age limit to those that Daniel wrote about. He said that the people who do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. Are there any of you older folks present on today who know your God? Let me see your hands. Saints, we should be strong and do exploits regardless of our age. Of course, time won't make our efforts look as pretty as they used to. I hear the song that so many sing that they don't look like all that they've been through. And that's true, and that's a blessing from God above. But that doesn't mean that you don't look like you've been through something. You look like you've been through something. You might not look like everything you've been through, but you sure look that your life puts you a time or two. Saints, when you get these scars in life, when you go through the hell of life that you gotta go through being in these earth suits, it's hard to not show some sign. Sometimes I wonder, I didn't see that wrinkle on my forehead a week ago, but with all the hell the devil's giving you, it's a wonder you ain't got wrinkles all over your face. Saints of God, I'm speaking that word to you on today, that God's got a plan, and God hadn't relaxed that plan just because you had some birthdays. I'm telling you, you thought it was your time to retire. It's your time to refire. People going back to school. Every day on Facebook, I see somebody walking, getting their college degree, and they're all young and spry. But every 9 years, I see a grandma or granddaddy, 80 years old, they got all of their children up out of the house, and they're still pushing it. You all still thinking too old. I've got to keep pushing. Saints of God, you've been through some stuff, but this is not the time for your retirement ceremony. There's still lands to conquer. There's still conquest to be had. You're not too old. Saints, as long as our anchor holds and grips the solid rock, we will find that we're still in the fight. Saints, I know you want to be younger, and you want your younger days back. I remember seeing you in the spirit singing, Roy Ayers singing, "Everybody loves the sunshine." I know you want to say you love the sunshine. Everyone loves the sunshine for sure, but we can still love the sunshine, even though we ain't got older. God told Joshua himself, thought it was a rap, that there's still conquest to be had. Y'all didn't know y'all preaching, but kick that old Roy Ayers, and that old "everybody loves the sunshine." I gotta confess, sometime I'll kick it. Saints, we all still have kingdom assignments that we're not released from until our last breath. God still got a mission for you. God still got a purpose for you. You're not too old. It ain't over yet. Just when you thought that the fat lady had sung over your life, God still got a call on your life. You're not too old. It's time to refire and not to retire. God wants you to leave it right at this moment because the kingdom call is still on your life. God has spoken over your life. It will still come to pass. Acts chapter 2 verse 16. And it shall come to pass in the last days, said God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions. And here we are, and your old men shall dream dreams. Saints, we will all acknowledge that we're in the last days. God's pouring out his spirit, and he's not leaving those of us that are older out of his plans. Old men and old women shall dream dreams. God still got some dreams for us to dream. Are there any dreamers in the house? You're not too old. God still has a dream for your life. Praise God still has some dreams that he desires for us. With some years under our belt, to dream with your eyes open. Look across the room and tell somebody to dream with your eyes open. I know if you leave me there for about 2 minutes, then I'll catch a nod. But say God told me that he's going to give me some dreams with my eyes wide open. I don't have to be asleep to dream. Saints, you're not too old. God's about to allow you to see your dream with your eyes open. You're not too old. I'm finishing it and taking my seat. I'm sorry to take you so long, but if you truly be honest, God gave me a peek at some of your thoughts in the spirit. And I'm speaking this word because somebody was about to retire. And God's telling you it's time to refire. You're not too old. Psalm 71, verses 4 through 9. Deliver me, O God, out of the hand of the wicked, out of the hand of the unrighteous, and cruel man. For thou art my hope, O Lord God. Thou art my trust from my youth. By thee have I been holding up from the womb. Thou art he that took me out of my mother's bowels. My praise shall continually be of thee. I am as a wonder unto many, but thou art my strong refuge. Let my mouth be filled with thy praise and with thy honor all the day. Cast me not off in the time of old age. Forsake me not when my strength falleth. God has forsaken us just because we are older. Look across the room and tell someone, from the room to the tomb, God's got me. From the room to the tomb, the same God that followed him when you were a turning clock came here and followed you when you were aching adolescent, that followed you when you were in your tender teens and your roaring 20s. Is the same God that followed you when you were in your tantalizing 30s and your prime time 40s and your feeling fine 50s. He's still on the throne as you go into your sensitive 60s, your sit-down 70s, your aching 80s, and your nostalgic 90s.